the subject we are talking about today. In fact, it's about a theme. It is a theme of the interconnection of all things. Sometimes we often hear a sentence, Internet of Everything. I always feel a little bit mystical. But please pay attention. What we say now. Access to everything on the Internet. All data. It's really up to us one by one. Connected by real physical lines. Equipment and equipment. Really real device. Through each other. Real physical wiring. Then our world. It is really such a network structure. It's a very large online world. This is also for us as network workers. Why we can have high salaries in the future. There could be a reason for a more challenging job. Because our network is really very large. That's why we only have internet access on our computers. Access your business from any device in the world. As long as it provides access to the outside world. With your permission. Because everyone's network. We are all connected by carriers. There is no doubt about this. Each country. Now all our access needs are implemented by the operator. If no operator, no access to the operator's business, then we can only be in one LAN. That for now. Some of our business models for various companies and business type. It's all illegal. Because now we are the age of the Internet as a whole. All business is now done online. This is an interconnected state. Mentioned above. It's all about the overall architecture of the network before the class. What you need to know. The structure we are talking about today is very large. But throughout the NA stage, we will only learn a small piece of knowledge on a small scale. That is, in the overall stage of our CCNA. What we talked about today. Between operators and operators. Within the operator. Between the future local area network and our operators. All technology are not involved in the NA stage. All the techniques we have learned, they only exist in such a small local area network. First of all, everyone should be clear. What do we use the technology we have learned at this stage? When everyone learns NP and IE in the future, knowledge will gradually expand to the outside world. That for us. In fact, in a small area, that is, in the future, you will be in a corporate network. Do some of the most basic configurations. In the enterprise network. This is what we do in the NA phase. We can divide the network as a whole into 3 areas. The first is called a local area network. Local area network. We are now relatively close. We will have a unified management model in the future. To provide services for a unified business. Equivalent to this is by our engineers. A network built in-house. Then whether you are a small business or medium-sized business, large enterprise, no matter what your network architecture looks like, you are a local area network. Then secondly for our metropolitan area network. Between cities. Our geographic range is relatively farther. But we say the concept of now. Gradually eliminated. What about us now? Why we don't go anymore? What about the word metropolitan area network? Because whether it is a metropolitan area network or what we call the wide area network now, we're actually referring to both the operator's business. Because in fact the metropolitan area network is also based on the operator's equipment. Network interconnection. So it's also the operator's service. The WAN is also a service of the operator. So we can only distinguish now a network range that we have built ourselves and the range of operators. So we only have one LAN and the concept of wide area network. Therefore, The metropolitan area network is relatively old. That is still R1 has not developed to at such a level now. Once the metropolitan area network is still brilliant. Now we will no longer mention this concept. Above are some of our communication concepts. Knowledge of wireless in Cisco. I should talk about it in IE. There will be no wireless part in our NA. Just do a simple extracurricular understanding. We've covered communication concepts and communication architecture. Then we'll get started. Learning of communication principles. That is, how does it work? Why can? What parameters are there as a support? This is what we will learn later. We've been repeating a word today. Operator. Other than the operator. We also mentioned a lot of network devices today. Such as routers. Such as switch. For example, these PCs in our terminal. First, let's briefly talk about history. From the early days of our entire network development. In fact, when the computer was first born. Not for network communication. It just acts as a real computer. Used for high-speed mathematical operations. Physical operation. And that it was actually prepared for military and scientific research. It has many formulas. What we humans are best at is creating and using tools. We call the possible formula developed. The parameters also came out. And how to calculate also calculated. Computers have also developed. Later, you can calculate the launch path of the missile, etc. We can make computers later as a real computing device and can store a large amount of data. Later, as we slowly develop, the team of scientists hopes to put the whole computer synchronize data. Because if the core data is destroyed, that's a very serious price. So the Ministry of Defense came up with the demand. They want to synchronize the overall data. It is hoped that the synchronization of information can be achieved by some means. Earliest network. We are through satellite-based synchronization. But for now it won't work. That costs too much. So the network is actually developing slowly. Did not start with computers. Network now. Then you can go online. Not like this. You are looking at the needs of each era. But in the middle of our process. I won't go into too much detail with you. As the internet began to spread slowly, we'll find that there is a problem. Each country has its own manufacturer of equipment. Such as IBM. That for early. A manufacturer like this. Actually it was at some point. Monopolized our overall communications business. We're going to do a meltdown backup. So. That is. The whole network is in the process of communication. Everyone will find. Because there are different network communication standards. Between different manufacturers. So will lead to. If you go to buy a manufacturer's equipment. You can just buy all the equipment. Only buy from this manufacturer. Because only this one manufacturer's equipment. Only support this set of communication standards. Developed by their own manufacturers. Like my number. For example. What format should our information be compiled into? How will each layer of data be transmitted in the future? How is the data of each stage identified in the future? Every manufacturer is different. So if at that time, you want to communicate over the network, you have all the equipment, all communication standards, all terminals, buy from the same manufacturer. Otherwise, you will not be able to communicate. Because of the signals passed from device to device. Don't know each other. Interoperability is not possible. So if in such an environment,